So, what we're going to do this morning is uh, discuss Indian foreign policy, especially in recent times, and we're going to discuss it with the person who's in charge of that foreign policy, and we are going to try and uncover and unclutter um, some of his work over the last 6 months since he's taken office, and try and piece together what this session attempts to do is what we call the India way. So let me start with that as my first question to you, sir. What is that India way? How are we managing contests, conflicts, disruptions, and how are we making our presence felt in the international arena?
Uh, well, first of all, let me say that it's very good to be here. Thank you, Samir and the ORF team. I think you've done a splendid job as you've done the last 4 years. And it's good to see so many people from across the world, from India. Uh, so let me respond to your question. What is the India way? So I'd put it. Let me start with what is not the India way. Okay. I think uh, it is not the India way to be an disruptionist power internationally. I think we should be a stabilizing power. I think there are already enough forces of disruption in the world, so somebody needs to make up a bit. It's also not the India way to be self-centered, to be mercantilist. Therefore, it's important to be global. It's important to be law-abiding or rule-based, whichever way you like. By the way, I think of rules as something more than law, not as less than law, but that's my view. It's important to be consultative. So if you ask me, therefore, give me 4, 5 sharp descriptions of what is the India way. I think the India way would be a country which brings its capacities to bear on the international system for global good, which is a net security provider, which is a contributor to connectivity, which is firm in dealing with challenges like terrorism, which has its values and practices, which addresses global issues like climate change. That would be one. Two, the India way now, especially, would be to be more of a decider or a shaper rather than an abstainer. And I would here pick issues like climate change or connectivity as issues where India has made a difference in the last few years. Three, I would say India owes it to itself and to the world to be a just power, a fair power, to be a standard bearer for the South. I think it's part of our history, it's part of our political inheritance. I think India must live up to those obligations in a practical way and be the voice for the South. And finally, the India way would be really brand India, you know, brand India in terms of what is unique to us as a power. The fact that we have this extraordinary diaspora which connects us in a way in which it does to very few powers. The fact that today we would be increasingly a pool of global talent, that our heritage, our traditions, what you've seen happen with yoga or what you see now happening with Indian traditional medicine, and also more sort of in a more modern way, I would say shaping the discourse, even the international relations discourse. That the concepts, the ideas, the debates. What is it that India will do? And I think there are obviously the India way will be tested against global issues. Global issues like connectivity, maritime security, climate change, counterterrorism, uh, democratic values, technology challenges of the kind which was discussed this morning and yesterday evening. I think all of that is part of the India way.
So, sir, let me dive into a couple of issues that you have described. Let's talk about India as a contributor to some of the global aspirations, global infrastructure, global connectivity projects. There is a assessment that we make these big claims of being an actor in the connectivity space, we don't deliver. We don't know how to complete projects. We are good talkers. We are not great builders.
Uh, I think it's a somewhat unfair observation, and definitely with regard to the last 5 years, an extremely outdated observation. And I'll tell you why. Right now, let me take the last 5 years, okay? We have, by my estimate, 142 connectivity projects in different parts of the world, 53 of whom have been completed in the last 5 years. You said we don't deliver. So let me start with the neighborhood. What is it which we have delivered? So if you take Bangladesh, I think pretty much the pre-1965 road and rail connections which were disrupted are all today being restored. We have connectivity projects underway in waterways, in ports, in roads and rail. If you look at Nepal, there are a whole set of roads which have been completed, which in southern Nepal, which connect the two. There's a sea change in Nepal's electricity situation because of transmission projects, which, by the way, began in the last 5 years and have been completed. You have a pipeline of fuel from India to Motihari, Amlekganj to Nepal. If you take Sri Lanka, actually, I would say really the rebuilding of the Sri Lankan rail network after their civil war was over was really done by India. If you look at at Afghanistan, you know, again, whether it's electricity transmission, whether it's road networks, I mean, all of those have happened. So I think to some degree, India is a prisoner of its past image. We have to get behind that. And now I was talking the immediate neighborhood, but I could go beyond. I mean, as soon as this conference is over, I'm going to Niger to inaugurate a convention center which we built in 14 months, which would be among the largest convention centers in that part of the world. In fact, if I look around in Africa, you know, we've done hydel projects in Sudan, we've done in Rwanda, in DRC, we have sugar factories in Ethiopia. So, you know, what has happened is, I accept there was a time when we probably spoke more and did less. Today, what has happened, possibly not as conscious strategy, but we are actually doing more than we speak.
So let me pick up another sector, sir. Climate. Now, let me ask you about climate change. Again, I think while of course we have seen in the last 5 years there is a different discourse in Delhi, and we've seen the mushrooming of huge solar energy projects. But are we punching at our weight in terms of what is needed globally to respond to climate change? You heard last night from the experience of the former head of governments and states that climate is something of concern to all of us. Is India contributing enough?
You know, something told me you were going to bring up climate change.
I don't know. Those some things were 7 people here.
Yeah, sure. So you know what I did was, I got the climate. It's called the Climate Action Tracker rating list. Okay, I don't know how many of you have seen it, but if you haven't, let me read it out for you. This is how the climate change policies, actions of governments have been rated. And this is, by the way, a December 2019 rating. So the highest category you get is something called role model. Okay. So the role model, by the way, is Morocco and Gambia. Okay. Then the next category are countries who have kept to the Paris Agreement 1.5 degree compatible commitments. Now here's the list, okay, and this you'll find very interesting. Philippines, Kenya, Ethiopia, Costa Rica, Bhutan, and India. Okay, I repeat, Philippines, Kenya, Ethiopia, Costa Rica, Bhutan, and India. So now who goes into the next category? 2%, 2 degree. Switzerland, Peru, Norway, New Zealand, Mexico, Kazakhstan, EU, Canada. Next category, by the way, they give up on the numbers, they just call them insufficient. This is UAE, South Korea, South Africa, Singapore, Japan, Indonesia, China, Chile, Argentina.
That's pretty much our attendee list.
Yeah, the last category is really diplomatically worded. It's called highly insufficient. It's United States, Russian Federation, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Ukraine, and Vietnam. So does that answer your question?